effective because students need to reach the 2,000 words. Just, learning from the word list might help them learn 100 words per week. And learners need to, encounter and re-encounter the words before they actually acquire the words. So deliberately learn words from the list might also be helpful to students, even though it is neglected or prohibited in the classroom. But I still believe that it is important and helps students to learn vocabulary. I sometimes ask my students in class to keep vocabulary log, the words that they want to learn. Let's say 10 words per day. And I ask them to do flashcards on each word. I play some activity in class by pairing students and let them play and guess the meaning and try to give the meaning of the words every day. So that will help them learn vocabulary faster, even though they won't learn different aspects of the word at one time. They can. Actually, they can. They have to learn one aspect and another aspect. And learning vocabulary is a gradual process. You need, as I said, 15 or 21 times before you can actually use the words in your production. So giving students many opportunities to encounter with words will help them transfer their receptive knowledge into the productive knowledge of the word. Okay? We can help them by, using input enhancement to increase the noticing level. When students notice the words, it increases the opportunity for learner to learn the word as well. It's quite warm here, right? Not only me. But believe me, sitting here is very warm. Okay, and I would talk about this. Reflection. Learners should be given a chance to reflect on their learning and monitor the process of learning, like as I mentioned earlier. Asking students to keep vocabulary log that will help them learn and be aware of their learning. Okay, it's important that teachers provide different activities that help enhance different aspects of vocabulary knowledge. So you might start with, helping students learn the meaning, and then later on learning collocations and constraints on use. And I also believe that we can use word list to create tests. We can give a test to students before they start the program. Like in first year university, you can give a list of, a test that tests their vocabulary size and say they need 2,000 more words. So we have to create activities around the words in order to help them, increase their vocabulary. And we can use the word list to track vocabulary growth. Like we can monitor their learning. Let's say first semester they have 1,000 words. What about in the second semester? What about the third semester? And we can also examine their vocabulary again at the end of the program. So I believe that these are the importance of the vocabulary list and that you can use them in your teaching. So in conclusion, vocabulary is very important for second language learners. And it is the responsibility of the teacher to help them increase their vocabulary size and to reach the level of, let's say, 2,000 or 3,000 or 4,000 words as soon as possible. Thank you very much for your attention.
You please give a great applause. Thank you very much for such useful information, useful knowledge sharing for us. Before we start the discussion session, I apologize because I didn't share some information about you before. About education, she was graduated from Arizona University, USA, in master's program of teaching English as a second language. She graduated in 2004, and then she graduated also from the same university, Northern Arizona University, USA, in 2009, finishing her doctoral program in applied linguistics, both with distinction. Would you please give applause to Ms. Angka now? Um, we have maybe about 5 or 10 minutes for questions and answers session. For first of all, maybe we can offer 3 questions. Yeah, we offer 3 questions. Yeah, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 1 question, 4 questions. Only 1 question. Oh, yeah. We apologize for that because maybe you're too familiar with Mrs. Angkana. So the other 1 question, okay. The first one is from Mr. Susanto.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Assalamualaikum
Only one
warahmatullahi
question. Yeah.
wabarakatuh. One question. Yeah, okay. Actually, there are many questions that I want to ask, but this is the question that I want to ask you, and it's important because, you know, you said that we need a certain vocabulary for thousands of Python, etc. What about the differences between nations? Is every nation has the same needs for vocabularies, and are there any cultural influence that makes the needs of vocabulary between nations different? Yeah. So we cannot say we cannot implement 1,000 words from American scholar cannot be applied in Indonesia. 1,000 words from Thailand cannot be applied in Indonesia, etc. Yeah. How cultural domain here affect the vocabularies, and how to yeah to choose this 1,000 based on the cultural. Thank you very much.
Well, I think if we do not have a list that we construct for our own students, we can use the general service list provided by, let's say, Cockhead or Michael West. However, for me, the list constructed by Michael West is quite outdated and is based on American context. It is for American university students. And in that case, our students may not need some of the words in the list. So, well, in my opinion, we can use the list if we don't have one, but I suggest that we should construct word list for our own students, because students in our university read different types of textbooks from, students in the US and elsewhere. I hope I answer your question. Thank you.
Okay. For the next questioner, Miss, would you please introduce your name? Yeah. Okay.
My question is, when we already make a word list to our student, and then what else? After that, what should we do? Should we check one by one, or should they make a sentences or maybe a journal, simple journal like that? Because when about 2 years ago, I ever teach in Thailand also in Hat Yai. There are so many students in one class, so I think that it should not to be checked one by one. So what will we do as a teacher? Thank you.
So, Well, I'm open to all types of activities or all types of approaches. Whatever approaches can help enhance students' vocabulary and help them learn vocabulary as fast as they can. As I mentioned here, that you can ask students to directly learn the words from the list by asking them to keep, vocabulary log or use flashcards on in learning the words. And also, you can, as teacher, you can design activities that focus on the form or the meaning in order to help them, firstly, learn receptive knowledge of the word. Because to be able to use words in the production, they need receptive vocabulary knowledge. They have to know the definition of the word first before they can learn different aspects of the word. And then they can transfer the receptive knowledge into productive knowledge. In other words, to use the words in their own production. So any types of activities, the one example is to use, direct learning from the list like flashcards or journal log, or just memorizing the meaning of the words. You try to match the form and the meaning. And also you can use like input enhancement to increase the noticing level. When students notice that the words exist, there is an opportunity for learner to learn. You can use test-induced involvement load hypothesis to use, when they try to produce a language, they need to have need. In other words, they have need to find word to put in the slot, and then they have to search possibility, word choices that they have, and then they have to, let's say, search for the word by consulting a dictionary or asking teachers, and then they actually evaluate which one that fit the context based. This is how they learn, So as I said, I'm open to any types of vocabularies, but any types of activities. But the main thing is our responsibility as a language teacher. We have to help them increase their vocabulary, and vocabulary should be one goal of learning in the class. Yeah.
Thank you for the question, Ms. Inda. And then the third question from the third question. Yeah. Would you raise your hand?
My name is Biotalia, and I'm from Universitas 11 Maret. My question is more about practical. So you have mentioned that in making a list of vocabulary, there will be 4 types of words, such as frequent words and then rare words. So my question is, how to manage the list? Is it from the rare one or from the frequent one? Thank you.
Well, as I suggest here, that I normally use 3 criteria to include words into a list. The first thing is that, the words should be content words. The second criteria is frequency. The number of occurrences should be, frequent enough. Normally, we use about 100 times. The cut-off point is 100 times in the corpus. Okay, so the word that we should include into a list should occur at least 100 times in the corpus. And the last criteria that I use is range, is the number of text type that the words occur. As I mentioned, that in my corpus, I have 4 different text types, including textbooks, journal articles, websites, and newspapers. And I use a similar criteria that Cockhead used in her study, which is half of the text type for Cockhead. she used 15 out of 28, and in my corpus, in my study, I use 4 out of 8. So range is also important, as I said. If it occur, if the word is very frequent, like occur over 1,000 times, however, it occurs in only newspaper, probably it's not so important for learner to learn because they do not only read newspapers, they have to read textbooks, text from websites as well as from the journal articles. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Dealing with our time management, maybe one more questions, and please be brief. Be brief for the questioners, because we have to go to the next session. Is there any question? Yes, sir.
Sir, I can catch the point that the key point of developing students' vocabulary mastery is the exposure to the text, the exposure to the words in text. So, do you have any idea of exposing students to the text in the era of, we call it as generation of 4.0? Thank you very much.
Thank you for your question. I think Professor Thomas will answer your question in the next session in extensive reading. Okay, so, well, as it's like multiple exposures in different forms, listening, speaking, reading, writing, give them as many opportunities as possible to encounter words, because the higher numbers of exposures and encounters will increase the opportunity for learner to learn and so we acquire the words. Thank you, and we will hear more from Professor Thomas in the next plenary talk. Thank you.
Well, this is the end of our session. Would you please give very big applause to Mrs. Angkana. We do thank you very much for your coming here and sharing information, sharing knowledge about vocabulary. I think we can close this session right now by saying Alhamdulillah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, thank you very much, Mrs. Angkana. It was an interactive discussion. And now we would like to present a token of appreciation to our speaker. Mrs. Angkana, please remain on the stage. And we also would like to invite Mrs. Yasika to come to the stage to hand the token. Thank you. You all may return to your seat. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let us now have the third plenary session, which is, I'm sure that the topic proposed will benefit us as the teacher to stimulate and empower our students to become autonomous learners. And let's invite Professor Thomas Charlotte Cook, the former of English Language Law at the Nation of University of Mongolia, presenting extensive reading, expanding the English program by creating autonomous learners, with Mrs. Muhimmatul Ifada as the moderator.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, Bapak Ibu sekalian, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you to be still patient in your seat. And we still have about around 30 minutes topic with Prof. Tom. And Pak Willy, will you be kind so much time? And before Tom present the material, let me share you that he has already been traveled from west to east, from Indiana University at 1971, from Temple University, Japan, Osaka at 1992, And also he has already published numbers of publication, a textbook also. And after we talk about the language from socio-religious, have a seat, please. Bu Jessica asked me to sit. So after we talk about language from perspective of socio and religious um, view, and then we have discussed about vocabulary. So it is time about the extensive reading, which is very demanding because reading is still very complicated word, no? But it doesn't wise if I talk too much. So I think I'll give time to Tom, and we have around 25-30 minutes. And don't worry, I will remind you whenever the moderator has given sign to me. He is very kind, so don't worry then. So I think time is yours, please.
I can't sit down. I'm like a 10-year-old, and they're going to put me on drugs. So, so anyway, my email address, ER Global Access, and there are no spaces in any emails. They're always lowercase. So if you want to contact me, you can. My name, KOCH, is German. I'm American. I'm from Indiana, which is near Chicago. And usually I show a map. Here's New York, and here's California, here's Chicago, and here's Indiana, the heart of America. And you're supposed to say, ah, okay. Okay, so so anyway, so I started a one-man program, which I am. I'm retired actually from Japan, and so I taught last year, as we mentioned, National University of Mongolia. Okay, let's continue. Okay, so we're going to talk about intensive reading versus extensive reading because there's a big difference. We're going to talk about why extensive reading, and we're going to talk about also why reading. We're going to look at proper levels of books, the SSS program, which is very important for extensive reading. We're going to look at results of one student because she had TOEIC scores in Japan. I taught in Japan for 25 years. She had TOEIC scores every 6 months. So the English literature department required TOEIC. So I could track her levels. It's one of the few students that you could actually track. We're going to look at the M-Reader, which is online program, and we're going to look at X reading. Okay, oh, there it is. Okay, so what we've learned, language education, there's a level here. I'm finding the, oh, there it is, okay. All right, so basically language learning, as we heard earlier, is based on time and, anybody remember what was heard? Effort, time and effort. Now we're talking about learning in the classroom, as if we only have classroom time. We have more time. We have 24 hours a day. So what we want to do is make our students, learners, 24 hours a day. Okay? Maybe that's asking too much, but that's what we're going to ask. And so it's basically just like a sport. If you're going to play golf, you've got to practice. Language, as you all know better than I do, you have to practice and you have to use it. So what we're asking students many times in a classroom where you have 25 students, how much do they use English in class? And the answer is not very much. So we have to have teachers, in my view, this is a joke, stop teaching, students start working, okay? Start using English. So that what we want to shift responsibility. Now the administration wants teachers to teach, but actually what we need is students to work, to do what they need to do. Actually the swash, do you know? Nike, swash? What's the theme? What's the word? Just do it, okay? They need to just do it, okay? And so All right, so benefits of reading, we're going to look at a little bit. Here's a study. They took two groups of people in India. They took one group who could not read, and then they taught half of them to read. And what they found was that the brain changes. Okay, and we heard that in the Quran, one of the principles of the Quran, first principle, the first message from God was learn to read. And that's what we need to be doing. And we not only need to learn read, we need to read. Okay, after we learn, we read. Okay, so this is a German institute, and they found that there are changes. I don't know why I'm having trouble with this. Can you, anybody? Is this working? Yeah. What's the secret? I'm sorry, come here. Yeah, come here, please. Sorry. Okay, there it is. Okay. All right. All right. Okay, the point is, the more you read, the more things you will know, the more you learn, the more places you'll go. Dr. Zeus, who is he? The cat in the hat, okay? Rhyming words, rhyming stories for children, okay? Read today, lead tomorrow. Children's books expose kids, not kids, but children, to 50% more words than primetime TV or a conversation between college graduates. So they need words, they need vocabulary, as we discussed before. Exposure to new vocabulary leads to higher scores on reading tests and higher scores on general test of intelligence. You become smarter when you read more, okay? Students who read are better than students who don't read. True or false? True. Everybody knows that. And yet we don't do that. Why is that? What percentage of English programs have a monitored extensive reading program? The answer is less than 1%, is my guess. I've talked to people in Mongolia, Thailand, Laos, Cambodia, Vietnam, China. Nobody uses extensive reading. Okay? We need to use extensive reading, period. Okay, I'm going to have to get her to, oh, sorry. I'm going to have to get help from you. Okay, so the idea is that if reading changes your brain, do students benefit from reading more? And simple answers, yes, they do. Then the question is, how do we get students to read? This is the challenge that each of us have to work on. What I did mainly was I made it part of grading. I gave them grades. I used the carrot. We have the carrot and the stick, right? The stick is the whip, a tough teacher, and the carrots means like candy, right? So I used candy, and the candy was higher grades. So I have given students 100 in my classes. I've had students who read more time, 2 times more time outside of class than inside of class, okay? This is what we want. We want students to do more. You show me how to do this. What's wrong with this thing? Yeah, I know, push it. Okay, okay. All right, okay. Okay, she's gonna push it, okay. Okay, all right, no, that's fine. Well, if I have more trouble, I am going to. 88% of Americans who read ebooks continue to read printed books. I'm sorry, I can't. You show me what I'm doing wrong. Where are you pushing it, down? Okay. I know, but I need to go back to it. Okay. Okay, yeah, you do that. Okay. More next. Okay, good. Okay, other scientific, reading out loud to younger children is a good thing, right? When parents read to children, 40% of frequent readers ages 6 to 10 were read to aloud at home. Aloud, I mean out loud, right? So students need to hear this. So your beginning students, 3rd grade or whichever level age you're starting language, you should have older students reading to the younger students, okay? Okay, you want to cooperate, okay? And start making reading part of your program, everyday affair. Everybody's doing it. Reading can help you relax. Memory improvement improves focus and concentration. So we were talking about concentrating earlier. Reading helps you do that. So we have the millennials they talk about, right? The millennial generation who can't think more, except, smiley face and whatever. Okay, next please. All right, okay, let's think about that. Why is it not practical to focus too much on reading? What are the problems with focusing too much on reading? Okay, the next one, please. We're going to look at those again at the end. Okay, intensive versus extensive. This is a key issue. Teachers are confused. There is a difference, okay? Intensive is in the class, it's difficult material, okay? Short materials, teacher provided, decided. Students underline what they don't know. They ask the teacher, they have dictionaries, they have resources. Extensive readings, home, outside of class, okay? And they say a book a week, well, we'll talk about that, but it should be enjoyable. Okay, Fluency, read different things, different stories, and they do summaries and reports, but what we do now is we do online checking, okay? Teachers can now monitor extensive home reading online. This is what we want. Next, please. Okay, why? Yeah, can you flip? Yeah, okay. Okay, good. All right, thank you. Sorry, apologies. Okay, repetition. Who said repetition is needed? Yeah. Well, she said it, and so did Catherine Snow from Harvard. Okay, 15 to 20 times in order to... This is a native English-speaking child. What about second learners? How much do you need? And the answer is a lot. Over and over and over. Language learners need massive amounts. Massive. What is massive? We talk about reading a book a week. We need more. Next, please. Next. I hope that's... Okay. Okay, so how do we get students to become independent learners? And the answer is extensive reading. Send them home and put them to work. Okay? Actually, it's not work. We just want them to use English. That's all. Next, please. Okay, the old programs were read as much as possible. Read books well within the reader's language ability. And this is like Krashen's input